Shalom, shalom. This week's Parsha is Parshat Shemini. And I'd like to take a few minutes to look at this story, this tragic story where the sons of Aharon, Nadav and Avihu, they bring their fire pans and a Torah and a strange fire to bring up to Hashem, and fire comes down and takes their lives. Nadav and Avihu, who are full of life 1 minute before, two of Aaron's firstborn precious sons now do not exist anymore. And the pasuk says, Vayidom Aharon, and Aaron was silent. And then it goes on to tell us that Moshe says to Aaron, he tells him not to mourn, and he also tells him that Hashem said, B'krovai, from his close ones he will be sanctified. And there's many ways to understand this, and I would like to explain it in a way that I see it, based on the character of Aharon and everything that the Pesukim tell us about him. Now, there's certain things everybody knows when you ask them about Aharon. They'll tell you that he's the brother of Moshe Rabbeinu and Miriam, the prophetess, that he's the high priest, and that we know he's a lover of peace, and that he tried and he went to great lengths to have people get along, for people to be united, and that this was very important to him. But all these facets have a deeper layer that I think the Torah tries to tell us about Aharon, that we can understand something that is really unique but attainable for people, and it would help us greatly in our lives. And you look at it first. Let's look at the first thing about how we know that Aharon loved people and wanted people to get along. And you would think that maybe, okay, because, he sees the good in everybody, he knows that everybody's, good, and that's the kind of people that are like that. But if you look at the incident at the golden calf, and when Moshe came down and he was livid, and he said to Aharon, what'd you do to these people? And Aharon said, don't be angry. Don't let your anger flare up. He said, you know that these people are inclined to evil. So he's not saying that the people are good, but yet it's so important to him. It's so important to him to get everybody to get along and to stay alive and to be unified and to get things to be the right way. And there's just something about Aharon that I think he has attained a high level, the high level that all Jewish people are supposed to attain, which is, and I talk about it all the time, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. And we talk about the unification of God. What we're really saying is that everything is one. We know that everybody has a little spark of God, and really everything that exists in the world exists to work together in harmony. We're supposed to set everything straight. It should be we should have the right frame of mind and the right understanding and consciousness of living our lives in harmony with one another and with everything that exists. And I think that Aharon achieved this. And you can see this because in all the stories, you don't ever really see Aaron's emotion going up or down. You don't see that he gets really angry with the people in any of the stories, where we do see that with Moshe. And you see that he seems to, there's people that really connect with the higher source, that have this ability to quiet down all the noise and to connect with the higher source, a very high level. And I think that Aharon was able to do this. And when people like that have more of an instinctive knowledge of what to do with what is right, because they're tuned into it, they're able to push out all the noise and to focus, and in the end really live their lives in a very connected way. And because of that, he really was somebody who was chosen to be the high priest, because that's the kind of person who wants the peace, he wants the unity, he wants it all to come together and for the world to operate in this way, and that the glory of God only really can shine in the way that it's supposed to when we do this, when we have this state of being. And so therefore he's trying to do that, and that's why he's the teacher of the people, the high priest for the people, a prime example for the people. And he had this instinct to know what's right, what to do. When Hashem was trying to pick Moshe in the beginning of Shemot to be the leader of the Jewish people, and Moses arguing again and again and again, he doesn't want to be the leader. And Hashem finally gets angry and says, okay, Aharon will be your mouthpiece. And Aharon, he's already on his way to meet you. He'll be happy to see you and to be with you and to help you out. Now, we don't hear that God goes to Aharon and give him Aharon all these instructions of what to do and everything. He says Aharon's already on his way to meet you. Like, Aharon had a sense of things from being connected with God, that like sometimes when you hear a prophecy, we see Hashem says Moshe, Moshe, or when he talks to somebody, Abraham, Abraham, he'll call them, and that the dialogue, so to speak, is initiated from God. And then you have sometimes with this nebuah, if you want to call it prophecy, where there are people who connect, and God will just instill them a knowing of what is right to do. Now, after Paro had died, Aaron's already on his way. He knew the right thing to do was to get Moshe for whatever reason, and he was already on his way to do it. And you see, Aharon always knows the right thing. When Miriam got Tzara and everybody, the nation was devastated, Moshe hadn't done anything, Aharon pleaded to Moshe, please save her, do something for her. He has the calmness and the ability right away not to get caught up in the noise, but to focus and to know what to do, what is the right thing to do. And this is something that the equanimity that he attained is on such a high level, so unique, that's why he is so revered by us and why he attained such a high position. Through all the inner work that he did by himself, not because God came down and said, you're chosen for this task, you do this, but he worked on himself and he got to that level where he achieved this equanimity. And I think that's why when his children were taken, that it just says Vayidom. Of course, we know Aharon, who is a lover of people. Obviously, this was tragic for him. And no one in the nation would have judged if he screamed out in bitter pain and agony and refused to do anything and just went in his tent and bawled. But that's not what he did, because he had spent a whole lifetime of practice, of understanding, of knowing that people are not just the people that exist on this planet, that when people die, there's a transition and there's a reason why God took them, whatever it was, that's above his knowledge, and that he was just silent in the moment of absorbing and connecting. This word Vayidom also appears with Eliyahu Navi when it says that called Mama Daka, that he connected with the small silent voice within, not through the fire and the storm and all these noisy things. Because there is a possibility of connecting with God from those things, like the people did in Har Sinai. We heard all that noise, the thunder and the lightning, and the connecting that had to come from without, because they hadn't done the work. So it had to come from without. And that is a possibility. But the higher level, like Eliyahu and like Aharon, is having done a lifetime of work, that they don't need that noise, that it's something that they connect with, the God within, and that guides them, that guides how they live their life, and that gives them a sense of peace and equanimity. And of course he was devastated that his children passed, and he didn't partake later when Moshe said, why didn't you eat this? They did the korban and he didn't eat the meat. And Aharon said, because Aharon knew instinctively what the right thing to do is, would God be happy with me if I did that today? And he instinctively knew what the right thing to do, because he was connected with God. And I think when Moshe said, in the close ones of mine, I will be sanctified, I think that also, not just Nadav and Avihu, the sanctification that way, but the close one refers to Aharon. Aharon was so close to God that he was able to accept, despite how devastating it was, how much he loved his own children, he accepted it from God with the peace of understanding that everything that God does, it happens for the betterment of the big picture, for the world, for what has to be. And he just connected with God. He through his lifetime of work, he was able to just tap into his core being and just be quiet and just let what is be. And not like most of us, when we have something that's so traumatic like this, we have knee-jerk reactions from something that happens in the exterior, and it jolts us, out of the moment into denial, into pushing things away, into not accepting, which is really just pushing away the reality of the moment. But he didn't push away the reality of the moment. That Damama was connecting with the moment, with God, with what is, and accepting the reality, which is such a huge high level, which is such a Kiddush Hashem, which is what Aharon did. And the truth is, it seems so unattainable and so difficult. It's something we can work on every day, of accepting the moments of connecting with God. It's a process, it's a work, but it gives people inner peace, the inner peace that I think Aharon had to live on his life. And I think that is a great sanctification of God's name. Shabbat Shalom.